Hi everybody, this is Kathy. Welcome back. A few days ago on February 20th, 2026, the NTSB released their final report on the plane crash that took the life of pilot 44-year-old Jenny Blalock and her dad, 78-year-old James Blalock Jr. The plane crash occurred in Pulaski, Tennessee on December 7th, 2023. And we just got the final report, including the toxicology report, which we're going to get into. But first of all, we're just going to give our condolences to her family, to their family. James, also known as Jim, went by the name Buck, and his daughter, Jenny Blalock, were survived by Jenny's mother and Jim's wife of almost 60 years, Gloria. And Gloria lost her husband and daughter on that day, on December 7, 2023. And sadly, she also passed away just 4 months later. So it's very sad. Thoughts and prayers go out to the surviving family. Now, Jenny was from Knoxville, Tennessee, and she had a YouTube channel and other social media. Her YouTube channel was called TNFlygirl, which I'm sure stood for Tennessee Fly Girl. Now, she used to have a lot of videos about her flying, her and her dad, or flying in her airplane, but they have all been deleted, pretty much, I think all of them. Her and her dad also were into these high-end homes, designing them, and I think restoration or something. So those videos are still up, but most, I think, of the videos on her channel, I looked, and they really seemed to have been scrubbed because there's a lot of criticism from the public on her flying and other pilots. It was kind of incriminating, and she had some negative comments before the crash, and then after the crash, there was continued to be bad comments. So she hadn't been flying long, and her first airplane, she had a rough landing, according to the NTSB report. Somebody reported she had a rough landing in the first plane and broke the nose of it, and so she ended up buying this plane here, which was a 1965 Beechcraft Debonair, and this was a very high-performance plane, and by all accounts, she was out of her league, and this was not really an airplane made for somebody that didn't have a lot of experience. I think she was around 400 hours, not a lot of experience. She'd only been flying a couple years, and so this plane was maybe out of her league. Now, she made a lot of videos flying, and she was also criticized for that because people said she was more worried about getting the shot with her videos than flying the plane. But according to the NTSB report, she was not recording during this crash, and they recovered both phones, and they have determined that that was not a factor. She was not videotaping while she was flying the plane that day. Now, according to the NTSB final report, they determined that the probable cause or causes of this accident to be the pilot's failure to maintain airplane control, which resulted in a pilot-induced oscillations and a subsequent loss of control and impact with terrain. Now, many times on those videos that she had up, there was multiple red flags. Now, also, they have performed toxicology tests post-mortem on her, on the pilot. Toxicology results indicate that the pilot had used a combination of medications that may be used to treat conditions such as anxiety and depression, which may have performance impairing effects. However, no details about any associated underlying conditions were available from reviewed records. Additionally, the medications Trazadone, Alprazolam, and Buspirone may cause may cause psychomotor and cognitive impairment such as slowed reaction time, diminished situational awareness, and sedation. However, due to the extent of the pilot's injuries, measurement of drug levels was limited to tissue specimens only, preventing reliable comparison to ante-mortem references ranges in blood. Overall, the pilot may have been experiencing impairing effects of medication use or associated underlying condition at the time of the accident, and such effects may have diminished her ability to render effective control inputs. However, available medical and circumstantial evidence was insufficient to establish whether such effects contributed to the accident, particularly given the pilot's demonstrated baseline proficiency in the high-performance airplane. So we're going to look at the toxicology report, and there were several medications that are prohibited for pilots to operate with in their system. Now, you can go to those pilot debriefing channels and they'll explain this, but this was her final 40 minutes. The altitude and the ground speed was fluctuating, and we've seen this in her videos. We've seen her get lost and go in circles, and there are multiple reports of people being concerned for her performances, including some of her instructors. So you can go to them channels to go over that. I'm just going to go over her toxicology report. There was a 13-page report. This is on page 11. So according to the 44-year-old pilot's last aviation medical exam was on January 20th, 2023, and at that time she reported using the medication fexofenadine, an over-the-counter non-sedating antihistamine commonly used to treat symptoms of seasonal allergies. She otherwise reported no active medical condition. The pilot was issued a third-class medical certificate with the limitation that she must wear corrective lenses to meet vision standard at all distances. So as you can see, the only thing that she told them that she was taking was an over-the-counter nasal spray, like Afrin. So at the request of the Middle Tennessee Regional Forensic Center, the labs were performed for toxicology, post-mortem liver tissue samples, and this is the medications that they came up with. A lot of them are really hard to pronounce, but we're going to do the best that we can. So when it goes through these medications, you can see that a lot of these are on something that's called, the FAA calls a do not issue, do not fly medications. And so she's got a few of these in her system that she was not supposed to be flying with. And as a matter of fact, if the FAA had known that she had these medications in her, it would have been an immediate grounding situation. Because a lot of these medications impair your ability to fly an aircraft. And so without reporting these, they did not know she was on these. So she would have been automatically grounded by the FAA had they known that she'd been taking these medications. So they put on here oxymetazoline was in her liver, and Alprazolam, sometimes marketed as Xanax, a potent prescription benzodiazepine medication used to treat generalized anxiety disorders and panic disorders, and typically carries a warning that it causes central nervous system depression, including sedation, reduced concentration, and reduced inhibitions. And this is why they do not let you have that when you're flying an airplane. And it generally carries a warning that you should avoid engaging in hazardous occupations or activities requiring complete mental alertness, such as operating machinery or driving a motor vehicle. And then alpha, and this long word here, hydro something, is an active metabolite of Alprazolam, of the Xanax. So I think this is maybe a component of the Xanax, and this is also on the do not issue, do not fly medication because it's a sedative. And next we have Trazadone. Is a prescription antidepressant medication that may be used to treat major depression, insomnia, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorders. It typically carries a warning that it may slow thinking and impair motor skills, and that users should not drive or operate heavy machinery and do not do other dangerous activities until they know what the effects on them are. And the FAA considers Trazadone a do not fly or do not issue, do not fly medication. Right, so that was another one. Now, Buspirone, this used to be known as Buspar, is a prescription medication commonly used to treat anxiety. The use of Buspirone may cause dizziness, and it generally comes with a warning that users should be cautious operating a motor vehicle or heavy machinery until they know how the drug affects them. And Buspirone is a do not fly medication. That's another one. Next, we have Trazadone, and this is commonly used to treat and prevent nausea and vomiting. Multiple studies shown no significant side effects on cognitive and psychomotor performance. According to the FAA medical case review for this investigation, Trazadone is disqualifying for the FAA medical certification due to the side effect, including serious heart rhythm irregularities, drowsiness, and dizziness. So, next we have propranolol, and it is a prescription medication commonly used for high blood pressure, migraine headaches, and chest pain caused by reduced blood flow to the heart, angina. Propranolol may also be used to treat various forms of anxiety, including situational anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder. Propranolol has minimal effects on cognition and treats the physical symptoms of anxiety, such as high blood pressure, increased heart rate, and respiration rate. Propranolol is not generally considered impairing, but the use of propranolol in pilots for anxiety, essential tremors, or migraine requires a case-by-case FAA evaluation of the underlying condition and response to treatment. And of course, she did not report this condition or this medication to the FAA. So that should have been evaluated as a case-by-case situation there. And then we also have, I'm not sure how to pronounce this one either, azacitidine, something like that, is a metabolite of fexofenadine. This is a over-the-counter nasal spray commonly used to treat nasal congestion from allergies. Not considered impairing. Now, this was the nasal spray that she did say that she was using. So that is the end of the list. She was on multiple medications that were on the no-fly list. You can't take those when you're flying, and she did not report those. So anyway, I don't know if it had anything to do with this tragedy, but it is very interesting and kind of shocking how many medications she had in her system that were, forbidden to use as a pilot. And that is from the final report from the NTSB on the crash that took the life of Jenny Blalock and her dad, James.